Welcome to the Sedona Soul Sisters show, down-to-earth discussions on spirituality, metaphysics, paranormal, and healing topics. The Sedona Soul Sisters are the most trusted psychic mediums in Sedona, Arizona. We are Rosalind Reynolds, myself, Ivory Lanou, Melissa Brace, and Terry Ann Russell, who's out on the road still today. We have offices in Sedona where we see clients from all over the world. Today's topic is creating abundance. And I want to say right up front, because this seems to be a little confusing to people, abundance is not all about money. Abundance is everything in your life that makes it feel full and worthwhile and wonderful. I think probably the emphasis might be on money today, and mostly because not only is it people in our type of business who tend to think either it's not okay to charge for their services, or they think that they have to suffer financially to do spiritual work. There's people all over the world who seem to think they don't deserve to make good money. They're never going to make good money. And we're going to address that today. That's what this show is all about. It's a mindset, it's a belief system that you can overcome, and you can turn around to one of abundance. So Melissa, what's your take on abundance?
My favorite perspective and way to focus on that for myself, at least, is not only is there's plenty for everyone, plenty, in whatever ways we want and need, but it's almost like it's right in front of us to step into at any time. And that's always easier said than done, of course. But again, like you said brilliantly, it doesn't have to do with just like cash or, but it can go past the perspective of, our small boxes that we kind of usually come from, and abundance and happiness and joy and freedom and all of the other things fit in. But the focus that we've all worked on is in the financial and stability and directions as well. But my favorite focus is affirming in that manifestation and affirmations. So that's my perspective.
For me, for years, when I was working in the field of mental health, it was all about service. And I worked with low income and homeless people, and I made peanuts in that first position. And it really didn't bother me. I was glad I was helping people, but it's interesting, I was never really financially motivated until I started nearing an age where I'm thinking about retirement. Not that I'm ever going to have a traditional retirement. I love my work too much, but still that kind of woke me up, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be expensive to do that. Or, oh, I really do want to travel to some more places. That's expensive. I need some more money. And I don't ever want my focus to be all about money. It's all about service, all about helping people. But we live in the real world, folks. And in the real world, in the world we live in, you got to pay for a roof over your head, food to eat, your utility bills, your car, kids' education, again, retirement. I mean, just all the things that involve life take money. So people think of money like this precious commodity, but the truth is it's like a river. And I have experimented with this, like when I get too tight with money, when I try to save too much and I deny myself simple pleasures, like I want to go to Dunkin' and get a coffee. I love their iced coffee now and then. If I think to myself, oh, that's, $2.40 you could be saving, I start finding that I do that a few times and money starts to get tight, which is unusual for me anymore. When I just sort of go with it and understand that I put some money out and money's going to flow in, I let a little bit of money out and money's going to flow in. That's when things get into that lovely abundance flow, and I just don't have to worry about it. So now, if I find myself getting into that mindset where I'm thinking, oh no, don't go see a movie, even, not during COVID, but don't go see a movie, even though that's your favorite thing to do, because that's a little bit expensive. I stop myself and I think, I know that my angels are watching over me, guiding me. I know I have clients who trust me and like me, and that flow is coming in. I can trust that it is, and I can feel it when I tune into that. I feel it.
I've gone through the same thing. I've had waves of ups and downs in that, um, and I sometimes I get caught or tripped over some of the belief systems of, like you said, like, oh my gosh, you can't go to the movie this week because you're not allowed to, because it's, you just won't have enough. And so I worked on that off and on in my lifetime, because um it's just tripped me up before, and I'm pretty sure it has everybody everywhere on the whole planet, in some way. um but that one's kind of fun, because then you realize, why wouldn't I choose now, not excessive things, but why wouldn't I choose now the path that is like, to, the abundant path to make yourselves happy, and it's sort of emanate that. And I go back over and over, like even last week. So I must be working on something in my own spiritual growth, my own self stuff lately. But even last week, I was just talking to somebody, and they were kind of, thinking I was cute and liked me and everything. And then they brutally said, "Well, I don't know what's wrong with you. Negative, real negative, like you shouldn't charge and things like that." And I thought, whoa, where did that come from? I've been doing this 1,000 years. It didn't even make sense. And so then I realized, in myself, it was just, who knows what they were thinking. But in myself, I thought, oh, I'm still going backwards sometimes in my mind, or my fears, and stopping myself from the abundance or the prosperity that is just right in front of us, and in
It's
every
all
way.
around us. It's like we're standing like shin deep in a flowing river of abundance, but you can either reach down and scoop some of that up, or you can just let it keep flowing past you like it doesn't affect you, but you're in it. You're in it. It's just a source of energy. So, kind of like the whole spending thing, another topic I've experimented with is giving. And I've given away a lot of money to different people, to organizations this year, with people going through so much. And I pay attention to that too. Like when I give, I know that I feel it even more so, like that the universe, whatever you want to call it, universe, God, and my angels just have my back, and they're like, yes, exactly, give some of that away. If you start thinking, if I give that away, what if I don't have enough? That's scarcity thinking. And scarcity thinking holds us all back. Many people, I mean, I'm sure you deal with this with your clients too, Melissa. It's an ongoing topic. Like, they say, I feel like I'll never make decent money. I just don't see how that's going to happen. And I say, if you keep thinking that and saying that, you're manifesting scarcity. We've talked about manifesting before. It isn't magic. It isn't woo woo. It's energy. You put out positive energy, you're going to draw positive energy in. It's more of a science thing than anything else.
I agree. I love it that you said it's not only the flow, like that's the best description I've ever heard, the flow of prosperity and abundance. But that like that you were saying, like service and giving, like being generous. And I as well have felt that, and felt that's a really big important piece of, it's almost like the laws of the universe, and it'll balance us scientifically. Not that we're doing anything to say, oh, let me get some brownie points. It's not that. You can't take it from somebody else. And um but the flow of it, when you're really here to serve, is just, I mean, I have always found it to be miraculous when I open my eyes and go, whoa, just because I wanted to be helpful in this world. Um, Miraculous. Yeah, the service and the generosity. I love that.
I think that is just like literally opening yourself to the flow of abundance. And I want to give you something concrete to use here, because I've done a lot of, I'm totally into scientific experiments with every aspect of life. So just know that now. Frustrated psychological scientist here. So I did some experimenting when I was new doing this business full time, and I was concerned about money, and it was expensive living in Sedona, yada, 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 all of that. And I felt like I would take 2 steps forward and take 3 steps back, 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. And I got myself into a little bit of a panic. And what I would do was, because I'm close with my angels, I've got that tight bond, I would say, angels, please bring me the abundance I'm looking for. Bring me enough money to do, to take care of my needs and save some and have some fun. That did not work. And my angels, it's like they literally, there's Roz, here she goes. It's like my angels sat me down and said, you need to talk to us as if you already are receiving what you desire. And so right then I turned it around. I had just said what I told you. Right then I turned it around and I said, thank you, God. Thank you, angels, for enough money to pay my bills, save some money, and have some fun. And that was the turning point. That was from that moment on, it has not been a struggle. That was like my epiphany. Thank you, angels, because who knows when I would have come to that on my own. But it felt kind of weird in the moment. I'm like, thank you, as if it's already there. But I just went ahead and did it. And that worked. Like, that's when money really started to flow. Was there a time like that for you, or a moment like that for you, Melissa?
Yes, this is one of my favorite stories, and it's almost like what you just described, almost like turned your switch, your inner switch, or your energetic switch to in the flow, like you just described, like the miracle of what we have inside of us, that we can choose it. My favorite, one of my favorite stories, because I'm kind of loud and boisterous. This was many years ago, almost 20 years ago, I think. And I was really depressed, and learning how to do energy clearing and all those things for myself so that I stayed in positives. And one of my favorite things still, because I'm so wordy, is affirmative things. So there are some of my favorite books that kind of describe how you can affirm and therefore manifest this, stepping into the flow. So I was real depressed. I didn't like where I was at. I didn't want it. I was mad, I was sad. And I wrote on notebook paper 3 pages of affirmations. Like Louise Hay and Florence Scovel Shinn are books that we could find that teach us how to do this. And I wrote 3 pages out, or front and back 3 pages. And I read them in the morning twice in the mirror and before I went to bed. And I was mad about it. I wasn't happy at all on occasion, because I was like, why am I doing this? This is so stupid. And but I forced myself to have, like, almost like the inflection, even like, I am happy, healthy, whole, and complete, like real dramatic, as I read them out loud. And then within a week, I am not even kidding you, movie stars, directors started calling for their appointments. I was stuck in the middle of, like, a depression in the middle of the country. We didn't run across movie stars. And then from then on, I opened up my eyes to the like you were saying, like asking and being willing to receive as well as serve and give. But I read those affirmations. I did it for I think like 40 days. And kind of at the end, I was starting to go, cool. Oh wow, okay, I'm okay. I'm okay. And at the end, I gave myself a gift. This is so silly. but I gave myself a gift and I bought a trip to Las Vegas where I got to see the Grateful Dead 3 days in a row, just because it was cool sounding. And I had enough money from like nothing, and I had enough inside of me, like peace and safety and comfort inside of me. After those 40 days, I went fine, and I booked it. So I went from I can't go outside, I feel really depressed, to oh, let me just like book a vacation and feel good about myself and share the light with others. So that is one of my favorite ones on that focused affirmations. And whenever I felt out of that space and having the negative painful self-talk or those old beliefs coming in, I would kick them out and read those affirmations and express with such boisterousness that it worked, and it worked big. And I never looked back after that. I mean, I have moments and still have to correct myself and work on myself for sure. But that was one of the best times of my life where I just did the 360 and set myself in the flow of abundance.
Affirmations are powerful. That's all there is to it. Roz, is there a moment when you felt like you really broke through scarcity thinking and found yourself in the flow of abundance?
I'm in it. It's been amazing.
No, a moment when it started for you.
I would say, since I returned to Sedona 7 years ago, because before that, I went through a period where I was very focused on just sort of replenishing my energy personally and not doing the work. And when I came back to the point where I realized I needed to address my attempted escape from my calling, I think that was a huge turning point for me. And we've left. I mean, I did come back kicking and screaming all the way, but I also came back with a little bit different attitude. A lot of that had to do with my relationship with Ed and the fact that he's able to do so many technical things that I'm not. So that really made a huge difference. And I began to see how his gifts, were shifting my forward motion towards abundance. And it shifted my attitude, I think, a little bit too. Because I've always had difficulty processing the idea of charging money for what I do, because I know it's a tremendous gift. But I also realize, we're put on this planet and we're put in a position where we have to have monetary fulfillment or we can't survive. So, and there were a lot of shifts that have occurred in the last 10 years that I think were very specific to having a different attitude within myself.
And what you talk about just underscores what people say about a partnership, whether it's usually they would talk about like a business partnership. In your case, it's your romantic partnership, but having a partner who has strength in areas you don't have and vice versa. In business, that's certainly very helpful.
Really
because
helpful.
we can't all be good at everything.
True. And I also think for myself, making sort of within myself, making peace with the idea of allowing things to flow. I'm a bit of a control freak. Oh no, not me. So I think making peace with the idea of allowing things to flow.
We were talking about the flow, how abundance really is a flow. And I wanted to say, like, one thing I think's really like given it a boost for me is my nighttime intention. I added to that that it would be there would be what I want to say abundance in all of my business endeavors. And I always say there will be an ever deepening and widening flow of abundance across all of my business endeavors and in every aspect of my life. That includes family and friends, hobbies, your home, your vehicle, your income. It's everything. You know, for life coaches, there's these charts that they use that have like 9 to 12. I've seen different charts, different areas of life. And they help you early in your sessions figure out if you're really lopsided, like you're putting 90% of your effort into one little square of your life. And it helps people see that they're not paying adequate attention to all important areas of life. That's true for your abundance planning and intentions too. It needs to be more than just about your income. You want to have an abundance of good, loving friends. You want to have an abundance of love and unconditional love and trust with your family members. You want to have an abundance of safety where you live. You want to have an abundance of satisfaction in your work. So all of these different areas, and there's more than that, like your body, are you paying enough attention to upkeep of your physical human body? That's another big area of it. And you know how easily that can tilt. You can just get really caught up in one area of life and it tilts, and all the work's going into that, and all the things over here are getting neglected. So this just is reminding you to think about all the important aspects of your life, including those that don't exist right now. So if you don't have a partner, a romantic partner, you could even say, my ability to quickly and easily attract a wonderful single man, woman for a lifelong romantic and spiritual partnership. You know, something of that sort that's specifically about bringing that kind of abundance into your life.
You know, that's something that Roz and Ed actually have been helping me teach me. They don't even know it. I mean, maybe they do, but they didn't try to teach me. Because over the years, I always felt so separate, so separate. And so many of my experiences were people wanting to take from me, like they don't tell the truth. And even in the last few years, I think like stealing, like outright crime. So I was so used to that. I was like, oh yeah, no one's ever going to be telling the truth and things like that. And when I very first moved to Sedona, it was about 6 years ago, maybe the first time that I lived here. And my very first friends that I met were Roz and Ed. And I watched them and I felt it in Rosalind in particular. Like she would, there was the safety of our friendship, of she honored and respected me. It taught me to step into the flow of abundance, of safety, like you just described. That was wonderful, because I had never really felt that way. I only felt separate. And it's not that Ross and Ed, have to fix it for me or do it for me, but they taught me of that self-balance, and that they're to treat each other with dignity and respect and equality. It's almost like we hold each other's hands and pull each other into that abundance and safety and flow.
Yeah,
Thanks, Roz.
that's a great example, because it sounds like you had come to feel like your comfort zone was actually very unhealthy. It's all you had known. So your eyes are open to a healthier comfort zone, which you're able to step into. That is part of abundance. I want to be sure we talk about any other specifics that we use to help ourselves or others or both to increase our financial abundance, because there's been a lot of questions about that from our watchers and listeners lately.
One of the other things that I do is visualize energetically, and like Ivory said, I'm kind of scientifically minded, so I like it to be visual and scientific. So I visualize like my bank account, my pockets, my purse, my checking account, my, whatever, cash, and I visualize it all in a box, my energy, in my energy form. And sometimes I go, oh, it's a little bit, there's a hole in that side, and there's a, oh gosh. And so I imagine kind of like sealing it, like sort of like we would seal over a hole in the wall, like a little bit of putty there, and mend that. And then that in my energy field in abundance. And again, it doesn't have to be cash, but it's easier to say bank account, pockets, that kind of thing, and seal it in my visual, in my energy form. And then I see a flow going through, and I usually imagine like a golden flow, like there's plenty for, mortgages and rent, and going to the movie. And then also the other piece that balances out, almost like the balancing scales. I see that within this box, in my energy field, where I give and pay everything on time and serve and have that flow as well. So it's almost like I imagine like a river. I imagine that golden energy just going through, and that includes the safety and the balance and the everyone else being flourishing around as well. So that works every time. And just remember to have no open holes or any, in my energy field, if that
That's
helps.
good. I like it.
You'll have to excuse me. I've got a little allergic tickle in my throat today.
So annoying. Stupid allergy time.
Yeah, spring.
I have experimented with using a green candle, and it was since I moved to Sedona that was really introduced to me, of lighting a green candle, and then you write what you want abundance wise and put it under the green candle. I don't mind doing that. I've had some minor success with that, but honestly, I think the two big things have been one thing that I already talked about, which is just changing a mindset that I am already in the flow of abundance and I just didn't realize it. And I'm there and receiving it. And thank you for it. The other thing is to remember all the gray area. I'm a big believer in the gray area between the right, the left, the right, the wrong, whatever you want to look at it, choices. So people will come to me and say, let's say I've been a radio DJ my whole life. I don't make enough money. I don't have enough to retire. I really can't travel. I'm worried about putting my kids through college, but there's nothing else I can do. I've always been a radio DJ. And the first thing I stop is say, okay, let's write down what your actual skills are. And then let's brainstorm other careers that would involve some or all of those skills. Always there's other choices they could do, but they just are so focused on, I've always been a DJ, so I need to find another DJ. And I would have to move to some big city, and the odds of them hiring me for a major station just aren't good. But if I went this direction with my talents instead, they could go right into a higher paying job and still retain a lot of what they enjoyed about their original career. But people get stuck in a rut. And when they're in a rut, all they see is the walls of the rut. And they see emptiness before them and emptiness behind them because they're not sticking their head up high enough to see everything else around them. So when you find yourself thinking like that, very black and white, about your income, your career, your prospects, just stop and force yourself to think of all the other potentialities for you, directions you could go in to make more money and still be passionate about what you do, because I really think that is so important. If you're not passionate about what you do, even if you make a lot of money, you're going to be miserable, and money's not everything. Money brings you choices and security. That's nice, but it's not happiness.
Well said.
True.
Really well said. One of the fascinating things and things that have been really beautiful teachers for me in my path. And Ed, Rosalind's husband, is one of my favorite because he's very stubborn sometimes in a funny way. And I think he's had some good paying jobs along the way. I don't know. I haven't known him his whole life. But watching him and others who had really high paying jobs or really fancy titles say, gosh, this is not okay. I might make more money. I've got a better car than so-and-so down the street, but the abundance within was not there. And watching other people go, forget it. I'm passionate about, this and that. And watching Ed, because he makes organite and the pyramids, and he's scientific minded and helps people. It's his only breath is to help people in every way, heal, find wholeness, find their truth, whatever it is. And so over the last years, I mean, he maybe used to not make as much money as some. And then over, like in the last year, I'm like, man, do you ever sit down? Because he's making organite and he's helping Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so down here do some things, and just being generous with the light and very positive, supportive encouragement for all. And I've just seen him just like blossom in that. And he could have had like a way better sounding job than he has now, than to just help people. But he's been a good teacher, and so have others that have been willing to step out of that. It's only like the career or the how the outside of your house looks, to help others and keep expanding and work on self and be generous and serve. So I just think it's beautiful because it's worth it. Well, it ends up that even if it is not sound as fancy, it's worth it to find that true abundance inside.
I think that's huge, Melissa, because we all have clients. We've talked about this. More and more clients are coming to us who are coming from corporate positions, very well paid, and saying, my heart's not in it. I don't get any satisfaction from this, but what I'm really interested in doing is helping people. I mean, they don't say that, but basically that's the core of it. I want to help people, and I want to do something with my spiritual gifts. I want to do something in the field of spirituality, or they want to make a switch to something like being a social worker, a counselor, something, and they know they're not going to make as much money. And I see them fretting. They fret, oh my gosh, I just worry that I'm not going to be able to have the same lifestyle. And I tell them, yeah, at least for a while, you won't. I think that's something you have to let go of, because life is not all about getting stuff and having as much stuff as possible, stuffing your house with more stuff, and then storing stuff off site. It's just when does the madness end? So if you let go of the stuff issue and think about what was it going to take? What do I need to do to make it possible for me to make the segue into the career I am passionate about? Maybe it's selling that big house that drives you to keep your corporate job that you don't like, so you can make payments on it and you're not feeling very happy. Maybe it's selling your fancy car and getting something that's paid for. Maybe it's making a move to a less expensive city. I mean, there's just infinite number of things people might need to do. And usually it's multiple things they need to do to make it possible to make the switch without stress. Because I like to tell people, if you're stressed about money, you're not going to be able to do your spiritual work very well, because that gets in the way of your frequency. It's hard to rise high enough and stay there. And it's always lurking in the back of your mind, like, oh gosh, am I going to be able to pay my bills this month? So for those of you who are in a situation like that, I really recommend keep your job as long as you can, just to segue. Maybe you go to part-time at your job. Maybe you find a different job that's less stressful and allows you to have a regular income, so that you have the financial stress off of you while you build your new business, whether it's spiritual or not. if you want to feel secure, you want to get in that flow of abundance, you can't be worried about money.
I think you have to always have faith that you're going to be, that's going to evolve, it's going to work out. And while you're visualizing, you have to know, you have to have that knowing that everything you need is coming, it's flowing towards you. And in my case, it's always arrived just in the right time. So I think you have to, really remind yourself, if you start having fear and doubt, you really have to remind yourself to get your frequency back up, stand in faith, and know that you are doing work that is your calling, and therefore you will be provided for. But it's
Roz,
very
that's huge.
very difficult.
Yeah, and it's huge. I mean, we were talking about that a little earlier, how it can just really tear at your abundance and your trust in yourself to make good money. But initially, when I started doing that, I had to do it frequently through the day. I'd have to stop myself and say, I know my angels have my back. They got me this far. They still have my back, and they're not going to drop the ball on me now. I hardly ever have to say that to myself. Occasionally I think like, why are you worried? And then I think about angels and God, and I'm fine. I'm fine because I know I'm doing what God wants me to do. I know I'm on the path that my angels have been guiding me toward, and I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. So I don't need to be doubting whether I'm doing the right thing, whether I should be looking for something else. That doesn't even occur to me anymore. And I don't want to get into that 3D thinking of I have to constantly be worried about money. Like it's almost like that, the kind of superstitious stuff, like if you don't worry about it, it's going to sneak up and it's going to be like the other shoe drops on you while you're feeling content and safe. No, it's the opposite of that. If you expect trouble, you're probably going to find some trouble.
I think dark attack has to always be recognized when it starts to happen. And a lot of that is done through exactly what you're talking about. The fear of, well, how, if I go do this, how will I pay my bills? How will life go on, et cetera, et cetera. So you really have to kind of sort of plant yourself in that visualization of everything coming the way it needs to and the way you would like it to, and have the faith to know that you're being backed up with that. But we have that equal and opposite side of the dark that's always working some angle. So I think we have to acknowledge that. We have to recognize.
We do this curses.
We have to recognize that, we have to plant our feet and stand straight when that starts. And it sneaks in on us, of course. So we really have to be aware.
You said something, Roz, that really reminded me of a point. I'm glad you brought it up. That I think it's important when you ask for help from God, from your personal angels, if you need money, what you don't want to do is say, bring me a bonus of $500 or let me inherit $500. Don't be specific about where the 500 is coming from. I have found through, yes, scientific experimentation, that when I say, angels, I need $500 by the end of the month, let them figure out the best way. They know everything happening behind the scenes, every possibility for the flow of abundance to come to you. Why would you want to limit your angels and God in where the money comes from? Because the important thing is you get the money. And I have found it again and again and again, like Ross said, I'll need money. This was especially back in the early days of the business, not so much now, but I would think to myself, oh, I need this amount of money. When I just left it open to them, it would come through ways I could have never foreseen, just strange ways, and always positive. Nobody had to die for me to get the money, which is always a good thing. It was always there, and sometimes right at the last minute, but it's come to the point where if I needed money for something, I would just totally trust it will be here in the amount I need and when I need it. And that's there for you too. You can get to that point if you'll allow yourself to trust in the flow of abundance.
I think that's a really big point that we need to keep telling ourselves if we go through these times of lack of faith, which we all do. We have to recognize that that's us being weakened and being frightened, and so we have to stand very firm with that.
And some of the ways that you can be brought down from that is by people around you, whether it's friends, family, saying nobody's making money in this economy. Everybody's losing their houses. Everyone's losing their jobs. That's defeatist thinking. That's negative thinking. And so you can listen to it, but don't take it to heart. Get out to your car on your way home, whatever it is, just immediately say in your head, I'm firmly in the flow of abundance. I'm going to prosper through this time. My angels and God have my back. Whatever it takes, just don't embrace that as the truth. That's their negative intentions. You can choose to turn it around and create positive intentions for yourself. There's a lot of people who've made more money in the last year who are not billionaires, who've made more money in the last year than they've ever made before, despite COVID, despite the economy resulting from it. You do not have to sink down into negative thinking.
And like you said, the faith, and you said a minute ago, I don't know if you can see this behind me, but every morning I in my prayers, so I can focus with, focus, even when I'm upset or don't believe that everything is going to be okay. I light a little candle and I go, okay, look, God, look, universe, look, source, look, creator. I don't know how to do this by myself right now. I'm a little scared. Or as you guys know, in the last few years, when I was having lots of surgeries and I had all kinds of people like stealing from me, stole my little tiny house, crime. I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen on purpose, like for sport. And that was really like a really big test for me not to step into their thinking like that I deserved it, or whatever the negatives were. And so I would ask God, I would go, look, I don't know. I'm just going to stand here and I'm going to have faith, but I'm mad about it. And I don't know how to do this. And if there's anything coming from me, like Ivory, you were saying, like, I need $500 this week right now. If I put blocks in front of my space on accident, I asked God to erase it, like with a little eraser, and correct it and help me expand. And oh my gosh, I could never have imagined the miracles that got me out of the painful places and helped me heal in this next steps. And of course, it's all of the time we're working on ourselves and healing and growth and all that kind of stuff. But I couldn't have ever imagined it was because of these two things, like just hold on to the faith and ask that God and your guardian angels. And for me, I go, Jesus, will you just help me? Because I can't figure this out. Don't let me block myself, please. And if I need $500, I'll say, can I have a little bit of help on the creation of the flow and whatever is best for me and the others around? And it works every time.
That's beautiful. And I don't want to forget to talk about, Roz, you brought up like suppression from the dark. We've experienced that. I've experienced that personally. We've experienced it across our business a few times. So something that we do pretty frequently is to do a a Sedona Soul Sisters meditation where we bust up that suppression and any negative energies or thoughts directed towards us, our business. It does wonders. I mean, when we do that, things start flowing again. So if you suddenly, things are going really well, you're doing everything you can to keep your abundance high and flowing, and suddenly business just flows, goes to a stop, then that's a time to consider you might be under suppression by the dark. And we actually have a show coming up in 2 weeks that's going to touch on some of that. So we'll probably discuss more about it later. But that's just something to keep in mind. Like Ross said, we are of the light, and there's good, there's the light, there's evil, the dark. And both of those things exist, and we need to deal with it and know how to fight it, how to break it up when it's happening.
And I think it's always important to remember to embrace our friends, our family, everyone around us when we are focusing on our abundance, because their abundance is part of our abundance too. It's very difficult to be happy fully if your friends and loved ones are struggling. So it's really important.
Absolutely, it is.
Embrace everyone.
It's so funny because a couple of times over the years, we were talking at one of our Sedona Soul Sisters meeting, and we discovered that all of us were individually really intending and praying for prosperity and goodness for each one of us individually. So it's not like we just are like, gosh, may my business be good, may I make a lot of money, but it's for all of us, for each other. We realize that our strength is in our group, and we can also make our prosperity go faster and higher together than we could individually. Another reason to find or create a spiritual circle. So people who are like-minded, you can join abundance groups online. You can go and meet up and find one. And I've done this, I've talked about it before, but there's 2 communities I lived in that didn't have a spiritual circle for the thrust that I wanted. I started my own. And now it's so easy. You can go and meet up and just start a group. And, we're going to work on prosperity together, on abundance together. And that's the focus of your group. And you put that out there and get people who are interested in it. And you can meet online for now and later in person. There's power in that. So never feel like it's all on you, that you have to do this all yourself.
It's true.
Mhm.
Just like everything else on your spiritual journey and in life in general, I think there are times when you don't know what to do, or you've taken it as far as you can, then you need to seek somebody who's gone further, somebody who's gotten a better grip on abundance than you have, somebody who has that trust level you'd like to have. And the thing I like about spiritual circles, no matter what the focus of the group is that you always have people in there who are really experienced, who've been doing it a long time, have a lot of knowledge, people who are kind of intermediate on that path, and newbies. And you help each other. You're always learning from the people ahead of you what you could do, something new you could try, so that you don't feel stuck anymore. There's nothing to be embarrassed about to say, I'd like more abundance in my life. I think you'd be hard pressed to find a person who doesn't. Any other thoughts you ladies have on this topic today?
I'm going to have to excuse myself because I have a Zoom in 1 minute.
If you have questions or comments, you can always email it to us. The address is in the show description. Feel free to do that anytime, no matter how far away from the airing of the show, we'll answer. You've been watching the Sedona Soul Sisters show. If you'd like more information about us or our services, visit our website at sedonasoulsisters.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss anything. And tune in next Friday when our topic is light language. You're going to see it and you're going to hear it and learn all about what that is. So in the meantime, we hope you have an enlightening week.